Hello, this is John Hodges and David Mahalik from Fort Defiance Industries. We're going to run a standard sterilization cycle on the P2131 automated field steam sterilizer. The P2131 comes with several standard cycles. It comes with an immediate use cycle, it comes with a textile cycle, and it comes with 2 wrapped instruments cycles. The standard cycles are 4-minute exposure cycles. One of the wrapped instrument cycles is a 10-minute exposure cycle. We're going to run through a textile 4-5. It's 4-minute exposure and 5 minutes of dry. Typically you would run a lot longer dry, but for this video we're going to run about 5 minutes. Before we get started on that, I want to run through what a pre-vac or pre-vacuum and post-vacuum sterilization cycle might look like. So this section right here is the pre-vac section. This section is the heat up section. This section is exposure. This section is drying. And this section is venting. During the pre-vac section, you're entering steam, pressure, you're pulling vacuum, you're adding steam again for pressure, you're pulling vacuum, you're adding steam again for more pressure, and then you're pulling a last deep vacuum. This is the section that evacuates the air from the sterilizer. Air is the enemy of sterilization, so if you want to get as much air out as you can, that's the wonder of the pre-vac sterilizer. So we're going to start here. This is called the steam flush. As soon as we hit the start button, we'll be right here on the graph, and we'll walk you through these steam and vacuum pulses. Once you pull the last vacuum pulse, you're going to enter the heat up mode. And what the heat up mode is a time where all the contents, the scalpels, the scissors, everything inside the sterilizer, the racks, the trays, the containers, everything is heating up. You want to get everything up to the same temperature throughout the entire chamber. So pre-vac does a lot of that. Heat up finishes that. So by the time you've added enough steam and heat to get to the range that you're sterilizing in, which in this case is the 270-degree Fahrenheit cycle. Once you get to 270, you start stabilizing, and there's a certain time for stabilization. At the end of that, you'll start an exposure time. For the textile 4-5, that's going to be 4 minutes. For the wrapped instrument 10-minute cycle, that exposure time will be 10 minutes. At the end of exposure, you're finished all the sterilization. You'll start drying, so you'll pull a vacuum and evacuate all the steam and all the condensation out of the chamber and off the instruments. You'll dry for the specified amount of time that you choose. In this case, we're going to choose 5 minutes. And at the end of dry, we'll vent, and that will pull outside air into the chamber through a HEPA filter to keep all the contamination from going onto the instruments. So that's the cycle we're getting ready to go through. This is very typical of a pre-vac sterilizer. So we're going to start this. From the main menu, at the very top it says sterilizer cycles. And if you choose sterilizer cycles, it pulls up the 3 types of cycles you can choose from. In this case, we're going to do a textile cycle. We're going to choose textiles. You'll notice that it says exposure of 4, and you can't change that. The dry time says 5, and it has 2 arrows on either side. You can change the dry time in the textile cycle. So you could go up in increments of 5 all the way to 60 minutes. If you go back to the main menu, go into sterilizer cycles again. If you go to immediate use, you'll see that it gives you an exposure of 4 minutes, and you can't change that. It gives you a dry time of 0 minutes, and you can't change that either. That's a standard immediate use cycle. So if you go back to the main menu, if you go to sterilizer cycles, and if you choose wrapped instruments, you're given the option of actually now changing the exposure. You have 2 choices, either a 4-minute cycle or a 10-minute cycle. The dry time goes anywhere from 20 minutes up to 60 minutes in 5-minute increments. Okay. We're going to do a textile cycle, so we'll go back to the main menu. We'll hit sterilizer cycles and textile. Again, exposure is at 4 minutes, you can't change that. And we're going to leave the dry time at 5 just to minimize the amount of time. Okay, so now if you accept that, you come to a screen with 3 questions on it.
So question number 1 is check the water level. So we're going to go, and again we recommend that you run at high You can run in between these marks, but it is best practice to go ahead and make sure your water levels are correct before you start. So I'm at high, and I'm at high on the sterilizer main unit. So I got number 1 checked off. Number 2 says closed chamber vent valve. So I'm going to walk around to the back. I'm going to make sure the chamber manual vent valve is closed. Of course, the jacket's already closed because the jacket is under pressure right now. So those are firmly closed. I'll walk back around to the front. The final question is, or statement is closed and tighten door. So before we do that though, we are running a textile cycle. So we're going to load the chamber with our textile pack. And again, we recommend the use of the Dana Products Process Challenge device, the Steriscan PCD. And we have our 3M 1292 biological indicator. It goes cap first. It's going to put cap in, and you screw the cap of the Process Challenge device on. And you're going to want to place this near the drain in the front of the chamber. It has a little tab to keep it from rolling around. So kind of place it on that little tab, just like that. All right. So we're going to close the door. You're going to push the throw arm down to lock the radial arms. And then you're going to tighten the door with the door handles. You're just going to go till it's snug. And I think we're ready to start cycling.
Okay, as soon as we start the cycle, we're going to do this a little differently. We're going to start this cycle, and we're going to show you the abort button. As any cycle is running, you can always abort the cycle. As soon as you hit abort, what's going to happen is it's going to try to give you access to the chamber. So the water recovery system is going to continue to run. It's going to either, if it's under pressure, it's going to pull a vacuum, get the pressure out of there. If it has a vacuum, it'll just relieve that vacuum until you get the chamber at zero pressure. So we're going to start this, but as it goes into the steam flush, pretty soon we're going to abort it because they have something else we want to show you. So we'll go ahead and start this. All right, so we're going into the steam flush. It's pushing the steam in, pulling air out. We're going to go ahead and abort this. You can hit the abort button. As soon as you hit abort, you get the red light indicating an alarm or an abort. You also get 3 beeps telling you that something wrong is going on. So you get the alarm screen, and the alarm screen has a 0-1 cycle aborted. It tells you what's going on. It tells you textile 4-5, so it tells you what cycle you were in, and it allows you to reset this alarm. We're going to go ahead and reset. Okay, so the water recovery system turned on to allow this to come to zero, the chamber to come to zero pressure so we can get into it. It also pulls up the log screen. The log screen has all sorts of things on it. At the top left, it shows you that the unit ID is number 4. It shows you the date and the time that, in this case, it shows you the time that the alarm happened. Normally, if the cycle finishes, that time is when you hit the start button, when the cycle started. But whenever you have an alarm or an upset, that's the time that actually happened. The first line is textile 4-5, so it tells you the actual cycle that was running. The 0-1 cycle aborted, that tells you what happened, either it's a successful run or that you had an alarm or an abort. That gives you a cycle time of 12 seconds. We didn't enter exposure, so everything else is 0. So we can open the door now. And we get a little bit of steam out because they did pump some steam in, so be very careful. It's going to roll out the front. So we're going to go ahead and close this again and tighten it.
All right, so when you close the chamber door, it's really hot in there, and when we open that, we let some air in there. So that air is heating up and is actually going through the hoses and bubbling into the water tank in the water recovery system. So that's a normal noise, not a problem at all. Again, the air is just heating up inside the chamber and going through the hoses to the water recovery system.
Okay, so that's one of the odd things we want to show you. It's very normal, but it sounds a little odd. So we're going to go back to the main menu. We're going to restart this, and we're going to hit abort one more time, but pretty quickly we're going to try to restart this cycle. And what I want to show you is the yellow light will turn on, telling us that the boiler is really not ready to start a new cycle. We're going to try to start a new cycle before this is even ready, and show you what happens. So we're going to start a textile 4.5 again. All right. So we check the water, we check the chamber vent valve, and the door's still tight. Those are the three questions that will always come up. We're going to hit start. And you can see the pressure in the jacket is coming from about 28.5 and starting to cool down. And the chamber pressure is actually coming up. So see, it says about 9 psi, so about 9 psi. All this steam from the jacket is pouring into the chamber.
A few other noises you're going to hear a little rattling coming from the water recovery system. That's the condensation going through the red condensate hose and going through the steam trap, which opens and closes based off of condensation or steam is hitting it. So you'll hear a little rattling. You'll always hear the water recovery system running during a cycle. So you're going to hear the motor as it's pumping water.
Okay, I'm going to abort this, and we're going to kind of zoom in over here to show you what's going to happen. We'll be able to see the light, and the light's going to turn yellow, telling it that it's not going to be able to restart a cycle, but we're going to try to start one anyway. So we hit abort, and we get the alarm, we get the 3 beeps, we get the red light. I'm going to hit reset, get the log, we'll open the door. Oh, we get a door open alarm. How about that? We got another alarm. It's the door open alarm. What happened is, at the end of the cycle, the water recovery system is trying to either vent all the pressure or relieve all the vacuum. Until that happens, you really can't open this door. So we tried to open the door a little soon. We got a door open alarm. So the door's closed. It's at 0 pressure. So we can hit reset, and now we get to the log.